Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Now, the data is in and the housing market is absolute trash with inventory absolutely skyrocketing. Based on my 22 years of experience in the real estate market, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to teach you guys how to find a deal of your dreams. Now, on top of that, I'm also going to give you guys a total and comprehensive update on all things housing market as it pertains to February of 2025. Now, the way I'm going to do that is we're going to start this video by doing a deep dive in data points relating to days on market and distressed inventory. Obviously, we have to know what type of low ball offer we can get away with. Now, our second segment today is going to be on inventory and how that's absolutely skyrocketing in most metro areas. Our third segment is going to be on demand, and I'm going to show you guys just how unaffordable the housing market really is. Now, the fourth segment is going to be on prices, and I'm going to show you guys the top metro areas and the bottom metro areas as far as price increases and price decreases. Now, we're going to end this video on me giving you guys several different tips on how to properly navigate this extremely toxic housing market. And if you guys can, for all this effort and all these data points, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and shoot me some comments below. Let's start with days on market. And what I'm using right now, you guys, is Redfin. And what I do is I go to Data Center. Now, remember, I've shown you guys and compared the data from Redfin versus active MLS. And Redfin has around half of the data that I'm using on MLS. So Redfin doesn't have everything. And remember, you guys, they use their own proprietary data. Nevertheless, as far as days on market, this bad boy is at a median of 55.2 days on market. That's up year over year by 6.7 days. And this is a record for the last 4 years. And it probably goes back further than that. But we've never had this much days on market again in the last 4 years. The reason why this is important, because if I want to purchase a house, the higher days on market a listing is, the more lowball offer I'm going to make, and the more probable it is that I'm going to get away with my lowball offer being accepted. Now, obviously, you guys, this is days on market for the total nation. We have to remember that real estate is about localized data, generally about subdivision data, unless you're in a rural area. As far as distressed sales, one way to find distressed sales is to go to Zillow like I've done here, and then click more right here. Hit show more, and then select foreclosures, auctions, foreclosed, and pre-foreclosures, and then pick the metro area that you want to find foreclosures in. Right now, this is in Houston. You guys can see, if you've been following along, there's a lot more foreclosures in Houston than ever before, actually. It's totaling about 56 results. You can see that here, with the bottom price being $79,900. This is a great tool, you guys, if, again, you want to look at your local area and you want to find out whether or not there's distressed sales. And you'll have distressed sales from normal homeowners, and you also have distressed sales from speculation. Now, one thing I wanted to show you guys is current homeowners are under distress from affordability problems. Now, this is HUD's updated information for January, and I want to bring your attentions to the current delinquency rate sitting at 5.9%. That's 5.9% of 82.5 million households that they're tracking, and that's not even all of the household. What that means is, right now, there's 4.86 million households and homeowners that are currently behind on their mortgage, which means if they can't afford that mortgage payment, they will have no choice but to sell their home. The housing market right now is changing. It has been quite slow. The biggest reason for that is, well, number one, lack of inventory, but a Federal Reserve that keeps bailing out the banks over the weekend. We need the banks to collapse. Now, here's the good thing. Inventory is absolutely skyrocketing overall, but there are some markets that it's not. And although it is changing, the housing market is extremely bifurcated, and there are some markets that are still tight. But regardless, you guys, let's go into inventory. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the inventory in the top 5 states for value of houses. So not total units, but value of houses. Top 5 states. Let me show you what's going on. What I'm using here is Fred economic data. You guys see that right here. This is housing inventory. This is active listing count. So in Texas, we're sitting at 102,000. And I want to point out, you guys, this is in January. Now, January in Texas is normally the time of year where we have the lowest amount of listings. And I can tell you, at least since 2016, so in the last 9 years, we have never had a January with this much inventory. Look at pre-pandemic January, 90,000 units. We have 102 right now. 2018 January, we had 82,000 units. That means we have 20,000 more right now. And going all the way back to 2017 in January, we had 82,000, which means in Texas, our housing market, as far as inventory, is absolutely freaking skyrocketing, which is absolutely great because we need more inventory. Here's Florida sitting at 157,000 units. And look at this chart right here. This is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, Florida, what's going on right now in Florida as a result of these HOA condo disasters, the property tax catastrophe, and especially the homeowners insurance catastrophe. Ain't no one can afford to live in Florida like they used to. And that's why you see this active inventory count essentially skyrocket upward since May of 2023. There's literally pretty much no downward trends in Florida right now as far as housing inventory. Now, as far as the record, you guys, this is January. And going back about 9 years, we have never had this much inventory in Florida. And it's January. Either way, Texas and Florida right now are leading the nation as far as inventory growth. And you guys, it's exploding. California is sitting at 47,924. Now, what I want to point out is let's compare this January to pre-pandemic January. So right now in California, we're sitting at 47,924. But I want to show you what the January was right before we went into lockdowns. It was sitting at 51,831. So as far as California, it's extremely close, not quite there yet, but it is extremely close to having enough active inventory to compare to where it was before we went into lockdowns. So that's also great. It doesn't have the growth again as Texas and Florida, no states do. It's absolutely bonkers there. But in California, it is extremely close to going back to normal as far as an active unit count. When we go into our fourth biggest housing market, that's going to be New York. Now, unlike the last three states, New York is not in good shape, you guys. New York is sitting at 28,510 active units, and that has been going down for a long time. So again, it's very fascinating to check this, and this is what I'm saying. It's so custom. The housing market is about local data. There's subdivisions in New York that you can find a great deal in, and then there's subdivisions in Austin that you can't find a great deal in. So it's really about localized data. However, when we look at the micro data and we look at the macro data, New York needs a ton more inventory. And I believe if they enforced the Airbnb laws, you would see this thing start to skyrocket. But right now, New York is not skyrocketing, it's actually going down. The fifth largest housing market, believe it or not, according to the internet, is New Jersey. And again, this is dollar amount. New Jersey is just like New York. It is not doing very well. Active units in New Jersey right now is 6,444. And again, I'm showing you the top five, and just looking at the top five housing markets, we see clear bifurcation in the housing market. Now, looking at only new homes. So remember, existing homes, it's very different from new homes. When it comes to new homes, we can get away with a lot more as buyers, but we can also easily get taken advantage of. Nevertheless, the monthly supply of new homes is sitting at 8.5 months. It's considered a buyer's market at 6 months. This has been over 6 months for over 2 years. In fact, if you guys look at the recessions, we have recessionary supply for new homes. So when we finally go into a confirmed recession, more than likely this sucker is going to continue to skyrocket. And I'm telling you guys right now, when it comes to new homes, the inventory is absolutely bonkers across the nation. You just have to hope that you're in a housing market that has an ample supply of new homes, because those new homes and that supply will affect the existing home market, which is probably why we see so much inventory in both Texas and Florida. That's the number 1 and 2 states of new home construction. One more trend of inventory that I want you guys to keep your eyes on. The new listings are in green, and we're up year over year right now with new listings 7.9%, but it doesn't show that here. Look at it, shows it's under the black line, but regardless, new listings are blowing up, which is incredibly good, because after the elections, new listings were actually declining year over year, probably because of the false optimism about the elections. But right now, thank you, God, new listings are at 76,194. That is up 7.9% year over year. And this is exactly the trend we want to see, because the more new listings that come to the market, the more probable it is that it's distressed sales. So we have an influx of distressed sales. This is probably where you're going to see that data set, but that is a 4-year high for this time of year. Overall, active unit counts and new listings are going up across the nation. What's going up faster in the areas and in the metros that have a high concentration in new home building. For example, where I live here in Houston, about 50% of our active MLS are new homes. But in other areas, say in San Diego, barely any of their active, well, first of all, they have barely any active listings to begin with, but barely any of their active listings are from new homes. So the combination of inventory growth for existing and new homes is going to fuel itself and cause the prices to go down even faster. So if you're in the Florida area, if you're in the Texas area, around any of those metros, you have a higher probability of finding a great deal versus New York or New Jersey. However, it doesn't mean you're going to find a great deal in Texas, and it doesn't mean you're not going to find a great deal in New York. It just depends on how lucky you get, how patient you are, and how well you understand how to use the math and find comparables. And we'll get to that here in a second. But what I want to go over now, you guys, is demand. I'm going to use data from Mortgage News Daily. Now, here's the composite index for demand, but I'm going to just break this down into refinance and purchases. Here's the refinance demand. The demand is actually in blue right here. The interest rate is that orange line that's going up and down. So when you compare these blue lines down here, going back to pre-pandemic, I mean, refinances right now, at least the demand for refinances is in the gutter. And it should be in the gutter because you can't refinance into a lower rate right now. Really, the only type of refinances you can do right now are cash out. And I'll show you guys at the end when I go over tips just how bad an idea refinancing can really be. But let me scroll down here and let me show you guys purchase. And again, I'm going back to 2015. Purchase demand is nowhere near what it was pre-pandemic. Look at this, going back to 2016, purchase index is at 223. Right now, it's way down to 154. So demand right now, as far as transactions, it's in the gutter. Now, obviously, I would say 90% of the people that are renting right now, millions of people want to buy a house. They just can't because, quite frankly, they can't afford it because of price and payment. We also see the lack of demand in Redfin's pending sales, which right now, you guys, pending sales is down year over year. And the housing market's already been a dumpster fire. But it's an even bigger dumpster fire right now as far as transactions being down 8.1% year over year. In fact, this is the lowest amount of pending sales we've had for this period of time in years, probably going back their entire data set, probably going back 10 to 15 years. But regardless, with this data set, we have a 4-year low for pending sales. Again, you guys, demand is in the absolute gutter. We see that in all data sets. One of the reasons why demand is so low right now is because of unaffordability. One of the things being payments. Look at how high payments are right now, sitting at an increase year over year at 8.3%. How people could afford a house right now at all, how there's any buying, is beyond me. It is literally the overall, unless you find a great deal, it is the worst time in history and most toxic time in history to purchase a home. But the average mortgage payment right now is $2,784. Back in 2022, this time of year, mortgage payments were about $1,800. No way am I going to pay $12,000 more a year for a house. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait and I'm going to find a great deal. But that is one reason why. Look at how much payments have gone up. The more important thing is price. And when we look at home price to median household income, or rather, this is called the PE ratio. Again, price to earning ratio. We've never been in a worse situation right now when it comes to prices. And that's why I keep saying, you guys, that's the bubble. I'm talking about the price bubble. People are like, oh, Travis, what bubble are you talking about? I'm talking about the price, the clear to a child. You can see it in this chart, the very clear price bubble sitting at 7.26, meaning it would take you, if you spent all of your salary on the price of your home, 7.26 years. It got highest during the global financial crisis at about 6.8. Before the global financial crisis, we're sitting at 4s. Look at this. Look at all 4s going back decades, you guys. Absolutely shocking. So again, one of the reasons is price. Another reason is the national payment to income ratio. We're sitting at a national payment to income ratio where we were at during the global financial crisis, sitting at 33.5%. And I want to tell you guys, and this is from Black Knight, this information is tainted because they're giving us this information at a 20% down payment. The average down payment is not 20%. And this is only principal and interest. This is not counting taxes and insurance. And taxes and insurance have gone up way more than they did during the global financial crisis. That's why I'm saying, even though this is showing it's where we were at during the bubble, it's higher than that when we really step back and look at taxes, insurance, and HOA. Nevertheless, you guys, payments and prices are absolutely out of whack. I've got several comments where people are like, Travis, I wish I would have bought in 2020 or 2021 or 2022. And I'm like, yeah, it was some decent times to buy. The interest rates were low. Prices were still lower generally than what they are now. But remember, you guys, don't beat yourself up too much. Remember what was happening right after we were released from lockdowns. Bidding wars, waiving contingency, appraisal gaps. You guys literally had to pay way more than a property was worth. You couldn't get any contingencies, and you had to bid with 30 to 40 other people. And a lot of those people were purchasing without even looking at the house. So even though it could have been a great idea to buy, remember the competitiveness was absolutely shockingly toxic. So don't beat yourself up. Now, let's go into one of the most important data sets right now, and something that everyone likes to look at, which is prices. I want to start at is the subdivision analysis form. This is only one page to calculate gross wedge and gross cash flow. I've made this for you guys for free. You need to use this because you don't know whether or not you're getting a great deal or a bad deal until you understand the math. And the way that you do this, guys, is all you do is look at comparable sales. And a comparable sales is a home that has sold. And on top of that, you guys, probably in another month, I will start teaching you guys how to complete this form. But nevertheless, go to my Teachable, download this form, and make sure to complete it. The first data set we're looking at here is from Fred. This is the median sales price on only existing homes. And I want to tell you guys that we are down from peak, which is generally normal for when we look at seasonality, but we're down from June 2024, 426,900 down to 404,400, which means we're off peak by about $22,500. Now it's stabilized, but we're going to see what happens as we go into 2025. What you guys are looking at here is only to December of 2024. When we go into Redfin and we look at their 4-week rolling median, which again is absolute garbage, but when we look at that, we can see the top metros and the bottom metros. So looking at the top metros first, you guys, Pittsburgh right now is up 15.7% year over year. My heart goes out to you if you're in Pittsburgh and you're buying a house. New Brunswick is number 2, up 12.1% year over year. Norwalk is up 12.1 as well. Nashua County is up 11.5%. And somehow we have a Florida metro in here with Fort Lauderdale up 11.2% year over year. When it comes to declining metro areas, number 1, declining metro area, and this has been year after year after year, taking an absolute beating. The housing market is for sure crashing right now in Austin, and Austin is down year over year 5.5%. But when we look at peak, it's down way more than that. But regardless, Austin is leading the way, which is a Texas metro, which has a ton of inventory. Number 2 declining metro is actually Tampa, Florida, down 3.5% year over year. So Texas and Florida on the list, again, probably because of the excess inventory that we have. Number 3, San Francisco, down 1.9% year over year. Number 4 is actually another Florida metro with Jacksonville down 0.8%. And ending us out is Atlanta, down 0.6% year over year. We'll look at the median sales price just for new homes sold in the United States. Remember, you guys, they revised this data and completely changed the narrative right in front of our eyes. This got up to 500,000 in October of 2022. Remember, they had this at 500,000. They removed $40,000 off of the peak of this data. So in other words, this data is trash. And nevertheless, this is showing that we're down from peak for just new homes about $33,300 with a massive jump in December. You guys can see that the median went up about $25,000 in 1 month to the next. I suspect this is going to go down, but you really never know when we don't have accurate data. Now, when it comes to new homes, it's even more important to do that subdivision analysis because it's even easier to get taken advantage of because new homes are not regulated the same way as existing homes. But nevertheless, you guys, new homes right now, giant smoke screen. They are in massive distress. Let me show you and prove this by showing you guys what Lennar is offering in Houston. As you guys can see here, this is Lennar's website, and this is in Houston. Take a look at some of these price cuts. This first one right here, geez, $71,000 price cut right here. I'm gonna go look at that. And this next one right here, you guys, that is a $73,000 price cut. Let me scroll down and see what else we got here. This one right here, look at this, $103,000 price cut. Did you guys know that? $45,000 price cut right here. I mean, these are freaking crazy. Now, obviously, I got to do a subdivision analysis to make sure that those are real price cuts, because those may be fake price cuts. But look at this one, $125,000 price cut. But remember, when it comes to new homes, not only are they doing price cuts, they're also offering outrageous incentives. Take a look at Lennar's incentives right now. FHA fixed rate of 3.99%. So I want you guys to know, and I've heard a lot of people like, oh, if rates go down to 5%, a whole bunch of people are going to buy houses and come back into the market. And I'm like, nah, not a whole bunch of people. There will be some, because the price is more important. And I can prove that because we've had low interest rates in Houston for like 2 years. I've seen interest rates at 0%, 0.99. But nevertheless, right now, sitting at 3.99% fixed rate and receive up to $40,000 in price reductions, refrigerator, washer, dryer, and an appliance package. I'm going to tell you guys right now, you don't have to get stuck in all of this data. Just map out where you want to live, check the inventory every once in a while, work with an agent that's going to help you with a market analysis, but you don't want to use your emotion, you guys. You're going to want to use the data, and you're going to want to take your time. Now, remember, I'm going through my own home buying purchase myself, and for the last 3 years, I put in an offer every single year minus 2025. Now, I didn't get any of my offers accepted, unfortunately, because I'm not going to settle. And when I'm out there looking for houses, the offers that I'm making are generally homes that are priced at 2019 levels, where the seller is paying all of my closing costs. As a buyer, I'm never going to pay my closing costs. I'm always going to ask the seller to pay my closing costs, because why would I want to pay my closing costs when the seller will? Now, what we're going to do is talk about some important tips that I want to give you based on my 22 years of experience that are going to help you guys navigate through this process. Follow new home construction, because generally, even if you don't want a new home, because say they're not built that good, generally the subdivisions around these new homes have lower prices. And look at this, guys. One of the sources that I use is right here called New Home Source. And look at this. I mean, they have massive price cuts. There's literally 953 communities in Houston. Let's see roughly how many homes are in this area. 12,000 new homes. And when I go out to these communities, guys, normally I can find 2 to 3 times more inventory. So there's a ton of inventory here. I'll drive around the areas and kind of see what's going on. But regardless, follow new construction. The second tip I want to give you is don't even look at houses at all until you understand payment and how an amortization schedule works. Remember, when it comes to a payment, generally the only thing fixed about your payment is your principal and your interest. Your property taxes and your homeowner's insurance can adjust like crazy. A lot of people are finding out that purchase prior to 2022, I mean, their payments have absolutely skyrocketed. So remember that. And also remember, you guys, an amortization schedule, the way that a mortgage is paid, it's front loaded with interest. And anytime you refinance, you start that whole thing over again. And so when I see people say, oh, you're a doomer, you're leading people the wrong way. When you rent, you pay 100% in interest. Well, when you buy, you could pay 200% in interest. Let me show you guys real quick how an amortization schedule really works. This is an amortization schedule. I put a loan amount of $324,000 at a 7% interest rate on a 30-year loan. I suggest you guys come back here and play with this yourself. So for a $324,000 loan, I'm going to pay back $452,000 in only interest. Okay, so this is what, like 140% interest. But remember, you guys, that's not even counting taxes and insurance. My property tax in Texas is 3.5%, which means they still 3.5% of my equity every single year. But here's the case in point. Remember, in year number 1, you pay $22,500 in interest. But in year number, you only pay $2,600 in interest. And again, the reason that is because it's front loaded with interest. Let me show you what happens if you do one extra payment, say of $20,000. You save over 5 years on the loan and $114,000 in interest. In other words, one of the best things that you guys can do is pay down your mortgage and don't refinance. And if you do refinance, try to shorten the term because you don't want to keep paying all those ridiculous fees. And remember, you guys, a mortgage is called and referred to as a death contract. Another tip I want to give you guys is a good way to shop for a realtor is have them do a market analysis for you and figure out what the average price per square foot is in multiple subdivisions that you want to purchase in, because really that's the only data that you need to fill out that subdivision analysis form. So make sure your realtor is working for you and providing you with data so that you can complete a market analysis. Now, another thing I want you guys to do is understand that you need to shop your mortgage. The deals for mortgages are radically different. And in order for you to understand what type of deal you're getting, you have to shop. And I would suggest shop with 5 different people. And generally, you're going to get a better deal with a broker over a direct lender. And also remember, when someone runs your credit, an inquiry is ran. An inquiry can damage your credit from 5 to 8 points. But you have a grace period when shopping for a home that lasts for 4 weeks. So make sure that you're shopping all at once and understand that you generally need to let them review your credit in order for them to give you, and I'm talking about a mortgage loan officer, in order for them to give you an accurate estimate on what your payment and your out-of-pocket expenses would be. The last thing I want to say, guys, is don't use your emotions to purchase the biggest investment of your life. Use the math and be very careful for agents that are only cheerleaders. And if you are an agent, let me say this, we need to step up and we need to do much better for our communities. We need to stop cheerleading and we need to start showing people how to find a great deal by using math. Now, other than that, guys, I really hope you liked this video. Comment below. Let me know how I did. There's a ton of value here. Don't forget to go to the description of this video. Check out all the links. Wish me luck on my own home buying journey. And don't forget, like the video, comment, share it. And other than that, if you guys are out there just living your life or investing in real estate, you guys already know I wish you luck and I hope you win.